Alright guys, it's been a while since I did a Duck Chronicles. It's either been raining, storming, or I've been away on a pretty large consulting project on about 1,200 acres of agricultural land. So back at my little place today, the sun is shining, and it's been a few weeks, so we have a lot of babies that have joined the flock. Now, there were a lot of you guys that were really concerned that all these eggs were laid at different times and how would the ducks deal with it, and you can see what the ducks do. See right now one of the female ducks is still back in there behind the turkeys. She's sitting. They got very few eggs left compared to what they had anyway. Our best count, trying to count all these little puff balls, is there's 16 babies, and there's babies as tiny, let's see, is that little guy right there, and as big as the big black one in front of him and the big black one behind him. You just get a multi-aged flock of babies. Here's Barbie and the girls. You can see how big they've got. Look at Barbie. She's almost as big as the adults at this point. My plan, if you look at the smallest one of Barbie's friends, when the smallest one of these guys is about that big, they're all going back over with their main flock. And we're getting very close to a point now where I've actually still, even though I threatened to take those eggs away, have allowed the flock that's brooding, these two girls here, and that Swedish girl right there, and those Swedish girl that's inside, to maintain their eggs because, well, they're still hatching them. And not only are they still hatching them, every once in a while they pitch one out that's gone bad. So they are telling me by their behavior, there are two turkeys. Oh, look, he's displaying. Let's see how ready we can get that head to go already, even this young. So he's definitely a tom. I think that, look. How you doing, buddy? Is your name Thanksgiving? You're Thanksgiving because you're a tom. You're going to be a big table bird. And we got another bird just chilling out in there. So I should have got the camera out a little earlier today. Everybody was out together walking around, and I ran to get the camera, and by the time I came back, they'd all kind of split up. In fact, all the babies were in there. I ran them out so I could film them for you. We got some big news of something coming. Now the pool's overflowing there because we've had so much rain. We've pretty much had rain, I think about 20 out of the last 30 days, and not small amounts either. We've had a lot of severe weather. We've dodged the worst of it here. We've had winds over 60, 70 miles an hour. We haven't gotten any hail on our site, though. They've got hail all around us. We have no tornadoes on our site. They've had tornadoes all around us. And it looks like we have a break from at least severe weather until at least Saturday. This is Monday, so I'm pretty happy about that. So I've gotten more wood down. I still have a little area back there that needs wood chips. And this area right in here honestly needs a little bit more. You can see right under my feet with all this rain. But the wood chips are far superior. As much rain as we've had, I mean, this isn't squishy or anything. So the wood chips are a much superior mulch. I guess mulch is more of a bedding for their night holding area. And you can see just how nasty it really is wherever they're not. Yesterday, this whole thing looked like a lake out here. There's the main flock doing their thing. Where do you think the girls are? They're down in the little temporary pond. That's the big news. I've gotten a quote, and I'm willing to commit the financial resources, and the little temporary pond is going to become a small big pond, and I want to kind of describe what that's going to look like for you and tell you what it's going to take to do it. So they're going to bring in a 16-ton excavator. Not the biggest excavator, but that's a pretty substantial, powerful machine. And what we're going to do is basically double the size of it. As soon as I make sure I'm not going to break my neck on the mud, I'll explain why in a second. So this pond, about like that, and that's a really small body of water, but it's big enough to make a reasonable little pond for the ducks. And you can see how much they appreciate all this rain and hanging out on it. What we're going to do, because of the cost of delivering the bentonite is so high that it costs a lot of money to bring a bunch in, but it doesn't cost a lot more to bring a lot more in. So we're going to bring in an entire tractor trailer load of bentonite. which is a clay that we'll be able to use to line this so it'll actually hold water permanently. And what that's going to let us do is basically take this footprint and imagine you just picked it up and dropped it over right there and double the size of the pond. And the pond will go back about to where that, I don't know if you can see it in the camera. I can see it with my eyes, but I don't see it on the camera. There's an orange flag back here that we estimated the size of the pond with. Right there. So this flag right here, now you know what you're looking for. It looks kind of odd on the camera. But that's going to then fill this in from way over there all the way back down about my feet, like a big kidney shape. That'll let us save this clump of trees. They won't have to be taken out. And it'll give us a much nicer pond, and it'll still give me an access way where the truck can slide by to get through that gate. So that's the big announcement of what's coming. I think we're going to have to do something I usually don't do with the Duck Chronicles today. I'll have to do this in multiple takes, merge it together with YouTube editors, so this will be a little bit longer of an episode, because the stuff I want to show you is pretty far away, and all you're going to see is the camera bouncing up and down. You guys are now in a place I don't think we've ever been to before with Duck Chronicles. This is my really big 3-bay garage that I do a lot of my work in plant propagation and other things in, and where I teach classes. Use that TV screen there, and my banner in the background. We set this all up for classes. And we have a lot of stuff being nursed here right now, but that's not what I wanted to show you. What I actually want to show you, and this is not a pet. This is a guy that I'm taking some sympathy on, and we'll take him out in the light where you can see him better. Charlie found this guy yesterday. This is called a map turtle, and they look a lot like, you know, your green turtles you see at parks and stuff. You see the way they look on the bottom? They have this pattern. It looks like a topographical map. That's why they're called a map turtle. And they will bite. I'm trying to get them to be a little angry at something. There it is. Charlie found him. Let's get him back in his hole. And he's going to be relocated. I do not want this around, especially even in that small pond with baby ducks, because turtles like this will just slaughter ducklings. They come up from below, they grab them by the foot, they take them under, and they eat them. Given he's no real huge threat right now, there's only one of them, he's going to get relocated to, there's lakes and ponds and stuff all around here that have turtles in them. There's a huge lake with thousands and thousands of these guys in it, so he's going to get taken down there. Well, I got you here. Those are hummingbird vines. I bought them from a nursery that I was never going to do business with again because they look dead. And there's like 14 of them there. I just stuck them all in that pot. Looks like almost every one of them came to life. So that hummingbird vine is going to be going out and about soon. On that, I wanted to show you kind of what some of this rain's been doing for us. There's the most interesting man in the world. Come to one of our events and you can have your picture taken with him. That actually was left over as a kind of one of a bar promotional item that was given to my son because he's a bartender. That's where we got that. Look at the small food forest. It's almost out of hand. These trees are loving this rain. And the beauty of these swales and berm systems that we're using is they're not getting too wet, even though it's soaking wet, because they have a little bit of rise up out of the swale. And these are all trees that last year we weren't sure if they were going to make it. Some of them over here we really weren't sure if they were going to make it, and they're really happy. This little guy here hiding in the grass is a Shapova, and it's not booming, but it's alive and thriving, and that's really a surprise. I was almost going to pull it out of the ground. Everything has just exploded. I've gotten some more things planted that if you didn't know to look for them, you probably wouldn't see them. That's all wild sunflowers that are coming up there. We'll have to take some of those out because they're overcrowding each other, but that'll provide a lot of biomass to mulch this berm, so I don't have to bring it in. And right here, against this tree's a dwarf mulberry. That was just planted. I still have some plants in the back there that I'm looking for homes for. And then right here, we have a Cornelian cherry dogwood. I think it'll like this shade. And then right back there is a goji. and wanted to show you this. This is a Lapin's cherry, and as you can see, it's doing really well. That's not the important thing here. I want to show you in just a second, but I just want you to check it out. This tree's happy, and I have a lot of other cherries that are happy. Over here, we had this hole where there obviously used to be an oak tree, and unlike most of the property, we were able to dig a hole here really easy because the trunk, or the roots, had eaten away the rock and made a hole. So this Lapin's cherry was a huge tree. It was like a 15-gallon pot. It's really hard to find a place to dig a hole to put a 15-gallon potted tree in around here, so we put this tree in here. It looked really good until a couple of weeks ago. It's completely dead. My instinct is that when we dug this hole down here, there was absolutely no pieces of roots. There was no wood. It was like fine dirt. And my gut is that they poured some kind of a chemical in that hole to eat that stump. And whatever it is, the residual stuff, as soon as it got into summer and this tree got some real growth on it, just killed it dead. So we have to figure out what we want to do here. Whatever it is isn't that bad, because you can see there's amaranth, there's turnip, there's all types of stuff growing over top of it. There's also a indicator of poor soil quality in here, unless I pulled them all out already. Right here, that's horse nettle, and that doesn't usually grow anywhere where soil quality is great. So we'll just have to see how that works out, see what goes in there. Maybe an ornamental that's a little less susceptible to problems here, or a hardier edible tree, because cherries are marginal for us to begin with. Now I want to take you over here. So that's my zone 1 system. That means that system gets a lot of maintenance. Not the tree we're looking at, but everything else. To my zone 2 system. So this gets less maintenance. This is built on hugel mounds. So you can see the mounds that run this way. They're on contour. This whole system harvests water and wicks it up. The exciting thing, other than that gumi that also looked like it was going to die in the first year, which is going to have fruit just all over. You see all the little beads in there will be nice, beautiful red fruits. Brand new apple. I think that's a smokehouse apple. What I want to show you is the jujubes. Actually, look at the Whitley crab while we're walking by it. First year tree. First year tree. Beautiful. See this one apple right here? Not gonna make it. Let's get it out of there. Let's thin that out. You gotta thin some anyway. Okay, I'm hoping these little wasp-like guys will be on this tree. They probably won't with all this wind though, and they're not. This tree flower is a very small flower. You can see them right here. And this big-headed wasp-looking thing is pollinating them. When I say big head for its body. It's tiny. It's about the size of a fire ant. And there were hundreds of them yesterday on it. What I want you to really get out of this tree though is the growth from this year. So if you look right here, you can see this is still green. This is first year growth where my fingers are. Check this out. That's about 18 inches of growth this year. Here's another one. Starts here. These trees did not look happy their first year. And there's so many things like this in this little orchard here, where here's a plum in its second year. Fruit on it. They were just having really great successes. All the autumn olive, really beautiful. Apple there, that apple looked real sickly its first year. Second year, just coming on strong. This jujube, this is its first year in the ground. So this is a lot what that other tree that I just showed you looked like its first year. Only this one actually looks a lot healthier, just kind of sparse. Back there's another jujube. And I'm telling you, these little wasp guys, try to get the camera out at a different time. They were just everywhere. So, you know, how does this relate to the Chronicles? Well, obviously, all of this is part of the system that I'm putting in for myself, but it's also part of the system for the ducks. These young ducks that are out here come through these rows every night. They go up on these banks, and if you just think about if you were a duck, this just looks like natural duck habitat. And even though I didn't really design the laneways to be duck laneways, It just naturally happens. And what happens is they walk through and they just hunt both sides all the way down. The turkeys do that as well. So this whole system isn't just a system for people. It's a system for the animals too. The animals and the people coexist in the system. Mike from Louisiana was saying on my blog recently in a comment, the more time he spends on his property doing stuff like this, the more that he feels like he becomes native to his own land. That's how I feel exactly. That I'm beginning to get to where every time I look at something, like I know this mulberry tree isn't quite thriving, but it's doing okay. And every time I walk out, I can tell, oh, there's a leaf missing or something like that. Things I would have never noticed before. So hopefully that guy will pick up. You can't have 100% success. And this elderberry is another example of, and look at there, hiding in the elderberry. Miss Ladybug. And they are just everywhere this year. And those are one of my allies. These are the guys that eat the bad bugs. I had aphids all over one of my apple trees. It took every ounce of resistance I had to not break out soap and water and start using organic pesticide. But by leaving it alone, we didn't hurt the beneficials. You can see the elders all have flowers on them already. So this one elderberry will produce plenty of elderberries for us. And right there, that's a sucker popping up from this elderberry. We'll be able to dig that up when it's dormant and relocate it. So this one elderberry will provide hundreds of elderberries for us over the years. Additional plants that we can either plant elsewhere or sell. Comfrey, coming back up from the year before. So things are really booming. But again, what I want you to take in is this system is not just about ducks or not just about people. It's about ducks and people coexisting on the land. And understanding how to make the system provide for both needs. Planting low bush cherries like this, where eventually when these things are putting cherries on, this bush will be this tall. And then these are my cherries. And right about here down, the ones that they can pull off from underneath, they're theirs. It's a shared yield. Cornelian cherry, another bushy tree. Probably put little Cornelian cherries on down here for a couple of years before it gets up. They can have those. That's our deal. If they can reach it, they can have it. If I really don't want them to have it, it's up to me to protect it. Brand new peach. Peach is hanging on it. Things are looking up, guys. Hopefully this severe weather will take it easy on us. I do want to show you the swells real quick. I know this is a long episode, but I haven't been on for a while, so... All right, guys, we're up at the top swell in the system, and this is what's called a sill right here. This is a place where the bank isn't there, and we pushed the land down. And there's another video I'll link to in today's video notes where you can actually see these things working in a rain event where they're overflowing. But it hasn't rained since yesterday. Finally, I can say that. Probably about 14 hours since we had rain. And we're still at capacity. That, if we got an eighth of an inch of rain right now, that water would start moving across the ground. If you watch the other video, you'll see it's ponded here a little bit in a low spot. This water moves right through down to that next swale. If you watch the video, you might think, well, that'll cause erosion. You can watch water. You see all these trees that were just unhappy in their first year. Just absolutely thriving this year. Anyway, you can see that water moving with loose leaves sitting on it. And you can tell the water's moving when I put my hands underneath it. The leaves don't move. That's pacified water. That is one happy peach tree right there. And that is one happy pear tree right there. So I wanted to show you just a couple more things today. You might wonder why I don't have the ducks over here. Well, I've just seeded the berms, and I want them out of this system for at least another couple weeks. And they have their own pond to work with for right now. But this whole system right now, it's gone down a bit, so it's not quite at capacity, but that capacity holds between 28 and 29,000 gallons of water, depending on how you do the math. And the estimates of the curvature of the swales. It's a little bit hard to estimate. Call it 25,000 gallons. 25,000 gallons at least 10 times this year, not in a year, this year, held back and infiltrated that would have otherwise went down the road. That's 250,000 gallons of water in my land that I don't have to worry about losing. Look at that mulberry. That's a white mulberry. A true white fruited mulberry. Second year tree. Planted from a whip. There's a cherry. I was saying that the cherries are doing good everywhere except in that hole. I want to show you this if I can get a shot of it. There's a cherry on there, and it's just not quite ripe. I got 2 cherries off another tree already. This one has another one somewhere. I'm hoping to, there it is. Let them go just a little bit longer and get ripe, and hopefully with all this rain they won't split. I got 2 measly cherries, but tell you what, when you're starting to system out, it feels good to get those. Peach tree, swale's just full. I wanted to show you 2 more things and we'll wrap for today. One's this muscadine. This is called an Ison's Big Red. You think the jujube was impressive its first year, or its growth for the year? So I planted this vine last year. It got up to there. You can see where the new growth starts right there. This is this vine now. Watch this. It's about 9-10 feet up. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to train that over this week to this tree, then around that way, and then back around. This will be like an arch you walk through. It'll be really a cool feature in the forest. Chingapins, blackberries. Check the growth out on these blackberries. That's this year's growth, that top piece. Things are just really changing here. Like I said, you become native to your own land, you start to almost feel it. This is an Ein Shimmer apple. I came out here in the freezing cold and tried to do a multi-graft on it. Most of the grafts failed, but here's one of my pathetic grafts that it took. That's an Arkansas black apple grafted onto an Ein Shimmer apple. We'll probably prune this back this year and I'll do a better job with my grafts, but I did do a successful graft, it looks like. When they're about that big, you're not sure if it's successful yet, if the graft really took, or it's just a shoot growing out. This really looks like we're doing well with it. But this is what I wanted to show you. Actually, this isn't what I want to show you. This is a target of opportunity. These mushrooms are unidentified. I'm not sure what they are, so I'm not going to eat them. But I've got mushrooms of all varieties, including Kingstrophoria, that I've been eating, coming up in these wood mulch systems. There's another little brown mushroom, or LBM, as Paul Stamets calls it, a different variety. And they're everywhere. And I'm not going to eat them because I don't want to die. And you never eat a mushroom unless you know. What I actually wanted to show you here as we wrapped up is this passion fruit vine. And how many blossoms are about to be on it. So there's a bud, there's a bud, there's a bud, there's a bud. And there's just going to be, there's a bud. You know, there's just about to be probably 100 flowers on this vine. And this vine goes, there's an end of it right there. And it goes way up the other side of the tree. And this is a hardy passion fruit. This is not maypop. This is blue crown passion flower. So we're going to get a lot of passion fruit off of this tree. So this, you can see this vine just goes everywhere in this tree. So this is going to be really pretty in a couple more weeks when all of these flowers start opening. So bottom swale, not quite full, 70%. It's beginning to infiltrate the water. It's had a break. There's a native tree growing on the rock in the bottom of the swale. Second year, just from what's accumulated in there. So I don't know what kind of tree that is, but it's just shown up and volunteered itself. We've got melons growing in here from last year that just were left to rot and reseeded themselves. We've got squash doing that. Elderberries. Things are looking up, guys. Anyway, that's it. Now there's a currant right there. Currants aren't supposed to grow here. There's a whole line of sea berries. They're not supposed to grow here either. Next time I bring you on, I'll show you a whole bunch more things that ain't supposed to grow here. This has been Jack with another episode of the Duck Chronicles.